How did Involve to Impact get started, and what was the idea behind it?
Involve to Impact was originally the Honduras outreach team, and it evolved into Be the Change and then into its current form. The Honduras outreach team, the idea was leaders going to other places where they're no longer held by the expectations of their own community and are able to explore their own leadership and their own growth, become more, and they can take the value of that experience back to the communities they originally came from. They build synergy with other leaders in those communities as well by interacting with them, providing service and building projects. And then that relationship they again take back and it empowers them in their own communities to continue growing as leaders.
So what was your favorite part about this year's trip to Honduras in particular?
I think my favorite part of this year's trip was watching the interactions between the newer members and the past members. This year we had people who were on their second or third trip, which is something we haven't had in this dynamic before, meeting people who were on their first trip. So you get to see people who have had a little bit of experience and a little bit of understanding the context, sharing it with people that have just gotten there. And by sharing it, you could see them start to actually really think about things that on their first trip they may have just seen or experienced or not necessarily recognized as relevant. And the more experienced trip members who come several times, like Jill and D-Rock, they really started to understand what the weight of continued trips could do and what bringing new people and new ideas could represent to the dynamic that happens every year when we go on these trips.
So what was it like visiting the coffee plantation?
The coffee plantation was really fun to visit. It was a completely impromptu trip, and it was done rather under duress because we didn't think we had the time for it. So the coffee farmer, regardless, came, and we went in Mario's truck and down this very steep, winding path to get to coffee. There's an idiom that the best coffee is the hardest to get to. And so it was precarious and adventurous and so fun. And then we got to the bottom and we got to see 3 varietals of coffee trees. We got to hear some of the toucans that the plantation is named after, Finca del Tucan. And we got to eat some of the coffee beans. We got to see where the farmer sleeps and eats with his employees. And then we made it back in time to only cause a minor amount of hysteria.
When you first arrived in Honduras, what was the most exciting thing on your mind?
I think the most exciting thing I was interested in, the thing I was most interested in was getting to start speaking with some of the people in our group not our group that we were flying in with, but our group we were meeting. To try and start getting at what I thought was the core reason of what we're there. How can we be useful? What are the issues that we could try and lend an ear or a hand on? And how we could start that project. So that was what I was really excited for. Very, very blank slate. My favorite part was going to that merchant, going to the vendor for the coffee and having some truly delicious, high quality, locally produced Honduran coffee made black with no sugar, no cream was exquisite and really memorable.
How are the styles of dance in Honduras compared to the East Coast? Could you pick up on traditional moves, or did they carry a style all of their own?
So your traditional top rock and b-boying is not really there. Their top rock is very old school, but it's its own flavor at the same time, its own style.
So what was your favorite part about this trip this year to Honduras?
I think it's more the battles than anything, and to be able to actually be able to be a part of something much bigger. Pretty much when we go over there, we're involving ourselves to impact a change within a community or a country. And I feel that not just our involvement, but when we are involved to impact the people around that are leaders that we go over there for, want to be a part of that. The person that I was training, one of our crew members that I was always like, wow, he's gonna really be something. He won the one-on-one, and that to me was like so like memorable, and I was like, it made me happy to see that I had an impact in what he was doing, and to see him where I feel like he will be someday, as competing around the world, and as well as microchip. But I see that, so I see that with them, and that's what we're continuing to do. So that was the most memorable part of my trip.
What inspired your choices for murals on this year's trip?
The inspiration came about pretty similarly to that of last year's. It was more about nature and Mother Nature and the habitat of trees, which is something that's still pretty raw in Honduras, and that's something that I feel is lost here quite a bit. So I wanted to bring it back and show how they're still continuing to do such a good thing with vegetation there, and kind of almost show them that they should be thankful and grateful for what they have rather than what they don't have. That technology, any of that stuff that they lack, may actually be a really good thing for them.
Okay, so what was your favorite part about this year's trip to Honduras?
Definitely the enthusiasm that people welcome us with over there, especially the breakdancers, the b-boys. They are anticipating every minute till we get there, and then once we get there, they just light up. And the welcome that we receive from them is beautiful. And every day that we're there, they're always so helpful and so willing to provide support in any way possible. They work hard. They go to school. They're all super young, and even throughout all their hard work and all their hardships, they're still there as much as we need them to be there. So they go to school. At the end of the school, instead of going home and going to bed, they go to night school, and then they come and see us and they dance with us the rest of the night, and they do not get tired, which is insane. I don't understand that. It doesn't work. I also like to dance, and dancing was definitely my favorite part this year, and pretty much last year as well. I think it was more because of the interaction with the microchip boys and kind of the brotherhood that we built throughout dance. That was my favorite part, definitely. So usually during interviews, I get asked a lot, like, what message would you like to send out to the community and things like that. And I usually say, for the most part, I tell people to get involved in their community, and that's has been my message ever since I started Positive Street Art, ever since getting involved with Be The Change, ever since meeting all these awesome people that I hang around with all day, most of my life now. And I will say it again, people should get involved within their community, and people should get involved and find out what happens around them and around the world. So what I'm gonna say now is I look out to you to get involved within this cause, or any cause for that matter, but we would like for it to be this cause. Get involved, whether you donate, whether you volunteer for any of our events, whether you help out in any other way, just spreading the word, whether you actually join us and want to go to places like Honduras, Dominican Republic, or anywhere we choose to go to in the future. Yeah, definitely get involved. We highly recommend. You're gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be a life-changing experience, because it is for everybody that's part of this group. Every time that we actually go there, it's always hard work, like it is with everything else, But once we go there, we know that every bit of that hard work was well worth it. So get involved.